Hey, everybody. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Kevin Harned with you here on a Sunday where Carson has a much-deserved weekend off. I see some folks rolling in. Appreciate folks jumping in. Carrie's like, hey, maybe it's going to be comedy hour. We'll see how it goes. I got to be honest. We should not be tired today. We got an extra hour of sleep, right? No, it doesn't feel that way. And I tell you, we've got a lot of folks jumping in. Some folks saying, hey, we love the cool weather. Wait till you see the 10-day. Yeah, I'm going to walk you through that, and I'll give you a preview. Well, I guess it's not a preview because Brian gave the winter forecast yesterday on here, but I'll take you back through that, and we'll show just a couple of the highlights. So we'll get folks settled in here. Some people are just now sort of strolling in. Peter says hello. We say hi right back at you. Sarah's in Waddy. Hello. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Feel free to comment. For folks that are watching on our app, the way we're seeing these comments, and there's my friend Laura saying hello, and right back at you. Warm weather in the next week. We got a little bit of everything in the next 10 days. So wait until you see that. I mean, we're going to talk about 70 to crashing temperatures back in the 20s, a storm chance, and maybe our first flakes of the season. What do you think about that? All right, let me move the graphics forward here. There we go. I'll just put the SkyTrack up beside me for now. Folks are in. There's Bryce. Hello, Bryce. Oops. Boy, for flying so fast, I can't hit the ones I'm trying to. I'll get to all of them. There's Bryce. Hello, buddy. Thank you for jumping in. Amy is with us from Bardstown. Carol down in E-Town. You know, we've already had some frost, and I don't think we'll see frost tonight, but we could see some areas of patchy fog. And what I was starting to say a second ago, this is like my mind's like, Randomville. But those that are comments that you're seeing, for those watching in our app, the way they're participating with their comments are through our social streams. And whether that's YouTube, and if you search out Wave, Louisville, Kentucky, on YouTube, you can comment there. We can put your comments up. Facebook, whether you're on my Facebook page, because I'm streaming to that, the news page, the weather page. We're on about 8 different platforms here. So jump in. There's Janet from Marengo, Indiana. And hello from Marengo, home to another string of caves. It's not just Mammoth Cave, right? That's what they say in Marengo. Betty, hello, back to you. All right, well, I tell you, we've got a couple hundred folks jumping in just on the one stream I'm looking at. So why don't we do this? We're going to go through some weather information for the next few days. We were preempted today by NASCAR, so we weren't on the air. So I'll walk you through the 10-day, and it's a lot of swings. I got to be honest. I mean, we're going to go up, come crashing back down. There's a storm chance, possibly severe. It's too early to tell for sure. But I'll give you the information we have. And then we also have a chance for a pretty good blast of cold air next week that could give us a few snowflakes. And that sort of transitions to the second part of what I want to do, and that's highlight some of the winter forecasts that Brian put out yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, you can always go back and watch it. It was about an hour long. So we really went in depth. We will not do that today, but I'll give you the highlights. And if you want to go back and really hear about what works toward or against having a snowy or a harsh winter, And, Brian's a big snow lover. So you could imagine that he was cheering for the fours and jeering for the against. But it was fun to watch. So hopefully you had a chance to see that yesterday. If not, the video is on our Facebook page. You can dial it back. All right, let's jump into the weather, and then I'll get to some of your questions and comments. Lori is saying hello from Meade County. You're freezing me already. Listen, I turned the heat on like weeks ago. When we first had that cool down, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn it on. I haven't turned the heat on in the car yet, though. And I think that's the real sign, right? Like most of the time we're out during the day when it's not all that bad. All right, Angela saying hello and good evening, and right back at you. Nathan saying hello to everyone watching on YouTube, and that's kind. All right, let's get to it. A few maps here, and then we'll just roll through the forecast. So we do have the opportunity overnight tonight. Notice the sunset. I was not alone in seeing that before my eyes this morning, right? Or this evening. 5:42 was the sunset. I'm not a fan of that. I like the late sunsets, like the 9 o'clock sunsets. And if it hits before 6, it's like, whoa. And it just throws you off for about 3 days. I should not be sleepy because, first of all, we got the extra hour sleep. Second of all, we didn't even have a 6 o'clock show. Well, I am so tired today. I'm like, what is going on? And then it hit like 6 o'clock and it was already dark. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm ready for bed. Like, no, I'm just going to work. All right. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Who cares, right? People are like, who cares, Kev? It's this time of year. It comes around every year. You're right. All right. So captured the sunset. Always love seeing our SkyTrack cameras. Temperature outside 48. That's not bad. It's cool. You probably want the jacket. Areas to our north, Jasper, Paoli coming in at 41. Look at Litchfield. They're always running cool down in Litchfield. Grayson County, 39 on the Mesonet there. Some areas will be in the 30s by early tomorrow morning. Most of us in the city will hold upper 30s to low 40s, and that's going to be the trend over the next couple of nights. Right now, there are just a few clouds passing by. It took a little while to get those clouds out of here today, but it finally started showing signs of breaking up right around sunset. There are still clouds in many places, and you can see that from the satellite view. And again, for those that are just jumping in, we know we have a lot of seasoned weather lovers, and they know a lot about the weather. We also have some that just pop in on occasion to learn a little bit. Satellite view, obviously we've got the radar and the satellite turned on here. We've had no rain today, but we did have some early this morning and late last night. But the clouds you can see on the infrared satellite view show that many areas, especially across central Kentucky, have at least some cloud cover. West Kentucky starting to clear out, southwest Indiana clearing out. The visible satellite imagery is even better for us. Unfortunately, can't use it when it's dark. And that's another sort of chink for this time of year. That goes away a little earlier for us. And that's just because it's a real-time camera. You have to have light for that to work. So the visible satellite goes away once the sun is set. All right. But the good news is we have the infrared satellite, and that's what we're looking at on the maps here. Some areas seeing rain to our north and showers and thunderstorms off the East Coast, parts of North and South Carolina, seeing the showers and storms, but none here. And the first part of this week looks great. Dry, southerly winds ramp up. Wednesday, a windy day, but yes, it will be warmer and windy before we see those temperatures crash back down. All right, I'm going to walk you through all of it. This, again, showing the clouds thinning out across West Kentucky. That should be the trend even across our area tonight. And as those clouds fade away, we may wind up seeing some patchy fog. This is not a huge deal, but I do think that a few places, especially to our south and east, noted by the fogcast here, have the greatest potential of seeing some of that. We sort of reloaded the ground with some ground moisture with that passing rain, and that was this morning. So those folks over in Richmond along the I-75 corridor, sure, you're going to see some patchy fog potential early in the morning, late tonight. That burns off pretty quickly, though, and we're right back near 60 for a high. Should come in with a partly to mostly sunny sky tomorrow, and it's a carbon copy for like the next 4 days. The difference will be we're going to pick up that wind speed and we're going to increase the temperature, but as far as the sky condition is concerned, I think most days are partly to mostly sunny, so we're looking good. Milder temperatures fueled off of those strong southerly winds should go back close to 70 by midweek. So all right, let's just do a little poll for those that are on and you want to chime in. Let's say if you're a fan of the warmer temperatures, give me a 1. And if you're a fan or wanting the cooler temperatures, give me a 3. So 1 for warm, 3 for cold. And we'll just see how they turn out here. There we go. They're starting to pour in. Nathan, a 3. Mr. Everything coming in at a 1. Bernadine, a 1. Carrie, all 1s. Nina, a 1. Wait a minute, I saw Rusty. Rusty had a 3. So see, it's interesting, right? Like some people are like, no, we do want the cold. Come on, there's Rusty with a 3. There's Kyle's with a 3. The colder air. All right, I see you. Laura, we've got several folks that are like, yeah, we don't mind the cold. But I think all right. I think it's safe to say that the warmer temperatures are still winning out, but there are still some of the snow lovers. Wait a minute. It could be a push to the end. It's like a horse race here. Tamara says 3. Brandon says 3. All right. and then here's what I like. Chris is just like, you know what? I'm good with all of it. Weather is fun. And that's the way I feel about it, unless it lasts too long. You know, we got into the storm season this year, and I was like, oh, okay, you may have overstayed your welcome here. But we got through it. Here's Rusty. I'm originally from Destin, but love the cold. All right. There's Patty. Hello, Mr. Harned. You can call me Kevin, whatever. Hello. How's it going? It's going well. We're just sort of goofing off today. So, and Nelly, is jumping in with the 3. Fan of the cold. I said 1 for warm, 3 for cold. We've got a number. Well, and there you go. 13, 6, 7, right? Whatever. Does that make sense to anybody, by the way? Somebody with kids. I don't have kids. I have nieces and nephews, but they're past that age. Now they have kids of their own. Maybe that's what I should have done. I should have done 6 for colds, 7 for warm. Anyway, enough of that. Yes, I did. This would probably get me in trouble because I don't even know what it means. I don't think it means anything is the problem. All right. Back to the maps. We're talking warmer temperatures by midweek. We said 69 would be Wednesday's high, so a nice little jump up as the week goes on. We're progressively warm every day. Wednesday is warm. We actually have a front that's going to move through, but there's not a whole lot of moisture with it, so it sort of fizzles out. Now, that's Wednesday. We do have a stronger front that could bring the potential for some storms. I took the cape off of this. I'll put it back on in a second because it does marry up for a brief period of time where we have some minor instability on Friday. So you're looking now, we get past the midweek front with no rain, windy and warm. All right. That's Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, quiet day, still somewhat warm, increasing clouds. Notice Friday, here we are in the morning, showers and thunderstorms. This is a week out. This is the end of the week. So the model data is not fine, meaning we're not tightly gridded. This is a broad view, so it's hard to pick out specifics in this type of data. But what we do know is that many of the data that we have are pointing to the fact that we will see this pass by this weekend, Friday into Saturday. And that should be a front that brings a round of showers and thunderstorms. Now, some have the potential to be strong. This is one of those setups where it's not a guarantee. There is no slam dunk this far in advance. We will have to look at this. A lot of it will come down to timing and hence the instability that's available. I think that's what we're really going to have to bank on. Right now, it doesn't look like we have a lot of instability to work with. That would yield that we wouldn't have as strong of a storm system. All right. Doesn't mean it's not powerful. It just means it can't tap into the energy that isn't there. So we'll have to see if we can build a little more energy in the atmosphere. That is certainly possible, especially if it comes through after we get the peak heating of the day. Temperature's going to warm back up. In fact, some of the modeling has us back in the 70s by the weekend. I took us down from that. I kept us in the 60s. You'll see it in the 10-day coming up. And then this pushes through, and that's out of here, but it doesn't go completely away because this is a couple of systems that will push through over the weekend. The main front passes by, but then there are little waves along that frontal boundary that deliver weekend rain chances to us for Saturday and Sunday. So I painted that with a 30% for the upcoming weekend. Again, we're a week away. So there is going to be a rain chance at this point. Now, once we pass the weekend, we open the northern flow behind the front, and this is going to bring in with an area of low pressure that's moving across the Great Lakes, strong northerly winds, a blast of colder air, and yes, the potential to see our first snowflakes of the season. And you see how this map sort of charts it out across Ohio, higher elevations of West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, far western North Carolina. But I do think even here in Louisville, we have that chance to see a few snowflakes early next week. All right, so you're going to see that reflected in the forecast too. Let me show you the temperature trend. Yeah, so you see Wednesday. These are the ups and downs we were talking about. So we hit Wednesday with strong winds. That sends us into the upper 60s, not far from 70-degree category. The weekend is murky. We get Wednesday in here, and that's pretty clear that looks solid. Then Friday, we have seen the next front moving in. That's the one that has the severe possibility, but not a guarantee. So much so that we haven't hit our criteria for an alert day, and we'll watch that. I mean, could we hit it? It's possible. Right now, lacking the instability, not gonna flag it for a worry at this point. But there will be that front that moves through. There will be some disruptive weather with rain, possibly thunderstorms, and then we're in the upper 60s. If the front does not pass through completely Friday, Saturday may be a warmer day. That's going to be a potential too. I took us down. I'm banking that front's moving through. We get the front past us. We get the worst of the threat past us, if there were to be one, Friday. That sets the stage Saturday for a slightly cooler day with just a few rounds of showers. So you're going to see some peaks of sun, those clouds billow up, and we're in an unstable scenario at that point where we can get these random showers. And I think that's what we see for Saturday and Sunday, much cooler. And then we are really into the cool air next week. Those are highs, lower 40s. I think it's going to be possible next Monday and Tuesday. Lows, 20s for some in the outlying areas. This is our first push of really cold air. So it'll be the coldest we've seen coming straight down from Canada. And that looks to be possible by early next week. And if the moisture holds together with a few of these showers, it would go from rain to a few snowflakes. Not looking at a lot of problems, but it is something that we'll have to sort of keep an eye on, mainly for fun, right? Everybody likes to see those first snowflakes of the season, like Dale. Hello, Dale. He says, snow. I love snow. And a good evening to you, Elizabeth. North Vernon is in the house. Hello, DJ King. I'm throwing up some of your comments. There's Todd Richmond. Todd, sunny and 80. My eyes, I need a bigger screen. Actually, I think the allergy season has really hurt my eyes this year. There's Patty. Wow. Yeah, that's what I say. And Braden saying, any alert days possible? Well, if we were to flag one, it would be Friday, and we're still assessing that. We still have a week, not ready to hoist the flag just yet. We're just not sold that we're going to have severe weather. And listen, an alert day doesn't have to have severe weather, by the way, but it's not met any of our criteria. and it would take me too long to go through all of our criteria. So, but that is what we're looking at. And this is a good question. Austin is saying, can we just warm up beyond the 10-day? Yeah. In fact, that is exactly what happens. And I think we're going to see more of that. And I'll talk about this when we get into the winter. I keep calling it a preview because if you haven't seen it, it will be a preview. But Brian delivered our winter forecast yesterday morning on here and some of the highlights on Friday. Hope everybody had a good Friday, trick-or-treating. Seemed like the weather was decent, really decent. But yes, to answer your question, Austin, we warm right back up. This push, this polar push of air that comes in next week is super temporary. I mean, it's in and it's out. So you can already see on the 10-day, the 49 is already an increase by 8 degrees over close to 8 degrees by the previous day. So we will warm it right back up. All right, I'll give you another view of that 10-day. Sorry, I've got it. And here is the day part forecast for tomorrow. If you're headed out tomorrow morning, in the city around 40, outlying areas will be in the 30s. We're already seeing that in some areas that have cleared out. We should wind up with a decent amount of sunshine tomorrow afternoon. The temperatures going back into the upper 50s, near 60 here in Louisville. Pretty pleasant Monday, not bad. And in the 10-day forecast, I said it was a carbon copy for the first part of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday all look very similar. Now, we will see some wind push in, as mentioned, on Wednesday. That is a front. It will bring a few clouds at times, so I've accounted for that by just putting a few passing clouds in. But again, the real story comes in on Friday and what that system looks like. And at this point, I cranked it up to 80% for the showers and thunderstorms. I do think they're going to move through. Not a guarantee that they're going to be strong or severe. They'll linger with a few showers Saturday and Sunday. And then we get another push with some very cold air next Monday into Tuesday, which is Veterans Day next Tuesday. And it just so happens to be in the season of the weather team's birthdays. Carson's birthday was last week. This past week. Ryan's is next week on Tuesday. So got a lot of birthdays on our team during this stretch of late October, early November. And then we do warm it right back up as mentioned. But look at those lows by next Tuesday and Wednesday morning in the 20s. And that's in the city. That means the outlying areas are going to be even colder than that. And especially if we can clear out late Monday into early Tuesday, that would be really chilly. So that's where we're at on that. All right. So that takes us through the next 10 days. Some folks are wanting that winter outlook. And yeah, Braden watches everything weather. I know. And we appreciate Braden always chiming in and jumping in. But he watches Wavy, and that's our weather bot. And if you haven't had a chance, he pops up on here sometimes. If you were watching at the beginning, he popped up with the alert. But Wavy is something we created here in-house, and it's kind of fun because anytime the weather is active, Wavy, our little weather bot, is active, and you'll see that. And we'll see whether it's power outages, traffic problems, storm reports, Wavy's on it. It's like Paw Patrol, where Chase is on the case, except for this is Wavy. All right. Let me take a quick 30-second break. I will reset my graphics so we can come back and show some of the highlights of the winter forecast. What do you say? We'll go through some of those highlights. I'll share with you when we've predicted the first 1 inch or more of snow on the weather team. And we'll go through what the season sort of looks like, at least from the snapshot at this point in the season, looking ahead. So I will be right back with the 10-day and beyond with the seasonal outlook. So hang in there a second. All right. We're back with you here. Uh-oh. The snow. All right, so the winter forecast, Brian puts it out, puts a ton of work into it, by the way. So he looks at everything under the sun and on the sun. And with that, we all sort of chime in with various thoughts. But at the end of the day, Brian issues the winter forecast for the team. And I'll give you the highlights of what we're looking at, all right? We put this out on Halloween every year. And this year did a little different, gave the highlights through the app. And then since Brian was working on November 1st, that was yesterday morning, he did a full hour-long explanation of what went into creating and crafting the forecast for the winter. So let me go through just a couple of the highlights here. And let's start by looking at the strong thunderstorm outlook. And what's that got to do with winter? Well, sometimes we see an uptick, depending on the pattern that we're in, an uptick or a second little pulse of severe season, if you will, late year severe season. And this would be December through February. And while there is no high zone, there is that medium zone that comes across parts of Tennessee and into southern Kentucky. And the reason this is because we're in this La Nina development that continues. And what this will mean will be frequent swings in our weather, and that sometimes, instead of being winter-like, can be on the warm side of things, and that would be more stormy. So consequently, we, but especially those to our south and southwest, slightly west, in the Gulf region in particular, would be in that zone for the milder temperatures and those frequent swings with fronts moving through, where they could indeed see some strong storms pass by. Now, the seasonal temperatures, on the other hand, because you have to have the warm air for the severe weather, will play slightly above average for us and then above to the south. All right. So that's sort of a snapshot. Does that mean every day is warm and we don't see winter? No. Remember, the important thing to know about La Nina is frequent swings. So we may go from 60 degrees right down to 20 in the span of, well, could be a day, right? So we see these frequent swings, but averaged in totality for the season, we should come in slightly above average. That's our thinking. All right. What about the risk of winter storms? Well, because of the frequency that La Nina seasons tends to bring, we will see, again, while we buckle the jet out in the Pacific Northwest, those systems come on shore and then they roll across the northern plains, oftentimes right down into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. So that's why we're in the zone of a high potential for at least seeing winter storms. Is this a guarantee of winter storms every month, every week? No, but it is a pattern that we see where at least it looks to be like it's going to be a possibility. Not too unlike what last year was. Last year, what we had snow on Thanksgiving last year, right? So it's not out of the question, even this year, right? We're already starting to see one of these swings in the 10-day. I just pointed that out. All right, so let's take a look at the sort of winter forecast. And I said we'd come in slightly above average, 2.5 degrees above average on the temperature. Snowfall, that's quite a range. Our seasonal total is close to that 15 to 18 inch mark. So 15 to 25 scales on the slightly higher than average side. So last season we had 27.6. And again, got a lot of that at the beginning of the year. I mean, just crushed us and didn't go away. Remember, it was on the ground forever. The kids trying to get back from Christmas break. That was rough. I'm going to pull down Carrie's comment or Braden's comment. Sorry about that. Yeah, and Dale's asking, how does this compare to Dick Freimeyer's? Well, and God rest his soul, we always love sharing the Freimeyer forecast, and we put that on our social channels this year too. I don't remember the exact total that they had, But his granddaughter has taken over that. And it's all, for those that don't know Dick Freimeyer, he was the doctor of barnyard science. He would look at everything. And John Belsky in particular had a good relationship with Mr. Freimeyer because of the folklore that went into everything. And John was a big folklore fanatic, and everything from, how bushy the squirrel's tail was to how high the squirrels are building their nest, or bees are building their nest, to you name it. It was out there, and it was a little wacky, but it was fun to keep up with. It was more fun than anything. It certainly didn't have a ton of validity to it, but boy, when it hit, everybody was like, "Well, see, you should have been looking at the squirrels more, the way the horses were sleeping." And I was like, "Well, okay, maybe you're right." But anyway, this is our winter forecast. We'll see how it goes. We'll be able to fine tune that snowfall range, once we see how early the season begins. But I think we're going to have a couple of blasts of winter. I think this comes in frequency again with La Nina already sort of showing signs of development and strengthening, that we will wind up with frequent rounds and frequent swings of the weather, meaning that we could see frequent bouts of probably smaller snows than what maybe some of you would want, but snow nonetheless. And if the frequency occurs in the span of a short amount of time, then it all adds up, right? So that's what we'll be looking at. Well, one other fun part of what we do is trying to forecast when we're going to see the first 1 inch of snowfall. Of course, we opened this up to everybody this year, and we said, hey, if you want to take a stab at when you think the first 1 inch or more of snow would fall at the Louisville International Muhammad Ali Airport, join the Snow Guess contest. And we had thousands of you chime in. So we look forward to seeing who hits that. You, whoever that may be, will be declared the official snow ambassador. We'll strip that title away from Brian and give it to you for the season. And we're going to have you and some friends or family come in for a tour of the station. And these are our guesses. I'm always the late one. And Brian's the optimistic one to get the white Christmas. I don't think he picks December 25th every year, but it's not the first time he's picked it. I know that. So when you look at the sequence and order, Ryan says, hey, I'm going early this season, December 5th. Okay. I think he's probably banking on last year, how we had the snow, wasn't an inch, but it was some snow that fell late in November, and probably thinking, okay, maybe this is going to be similar. Carson swings in at the number 2 spot. Now, he won last year's guess on the team. He says December 17th. All right, so you're just a week before Christmas and 1 day before my birthday. That would mean I would have a white birthday, and it's a big birthday for me this year. All right, that's the 17th. Tawana? Well, I mentioned Brian on December 25th. Now, the thing about the 25th is all about the timing, right? Like, does it happen, when would you want it if it fell on Christmas? A lot of travel. That's why Christmas snow is like, it's nice, but it sort of fouls things up, both with the airlines, both with the driving. We have a hard enough time around here on a sunny day. Rain is a mess. Snow is terrible. The 25th. Let's see how Be Good does this year. And then Tawana's not far behind. She's going with the other holiday, and that's New Year's, right where we had the big snow last year, the 2nd. And I leaned more toward climatology in the middle of January, and we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. It's always fun to try to guess. And I particularly went late just to see how it would go. So we'll see how it will go. Who knows? Nobody knows for sure. But we have a lot of guesses, and we look forward to crowning a champion, as we say. So that was the winter outlook. All right, let me jump in to a few of the questions. Some people are trying to guess in here. We appreciate the guesses, but the contest has ended. We ended that before we released our winter forecast. Otherwise, you'd be at an advantage of seeing the winter forecast and then making your guess. Yeah. Nathan, did you hear 2 radio stations playing Christmas music? 102.3 The Rose and 106.9 Mix. Yeah, I did. I heard it. It gets earlier every year. The stores, Christmas everywhere. Are you a fan of that? Do you mind? Who's put their Christmas tree up? Anybody? I'm waiting. Who wants to admit it? I know you're out there. Sometimes it's easier just to get it up and not have to worry with it as the season gets busier and busier. Jacob. Yeah. Blame the wife. That's good. If you knew what was good for you, you'd get the tree up, which you did. So there you go. Good for you. All right. Not a lot. Yeah, we warm it up. We warm it up this week. We're going close to 70 by this week and possibly again over the weekend. The weekend's still a question mark, but yes, we do warm it back up. All right, there's Laura. She's jumping in the day after Thanksgiving. So get one holiday passed and then boom, ready for the next. You know, when I was a kid, we never put our tree up until the week before Christmas. So I'm used to it going up late when I was a kid. And now it's kind of like, oh, whatever. It's everywhere anyway, so it might as well be in the house, right? Yeah, big birthday. 21. I can't wait. Yes, that sounds glorious. I don't even remember 21. It's been that long ago. All right, here's Bryce asking, what about danger of ice storms with the ups and downs? Yeah, that's a good question. And you're right, because frequency and fluctuations in global temperature patterns, you wind up, if you're warm and you're bringing in colder air, cold air sinks, so it wants to go down. And what we would find in those scenarios, depending on what we have in place, is that the overrunning can create ice problems. So we're more at risk in this type of scenario for icing than we would say if it were just going to be a cold winter, right? You might have more snow in that scenario, but in the scenario we're looking at, because of the fluctuations and the frequency that it could happen, we would wind up saying we would be at a higher risk for icing. Yeah, good question. There's Dale. All right, the tree is up. Whatever works. All right, it is 9:10 right here. We've got the NFL on NBC, so we're going to be on a little late tonight. But I did share with you the 10-day. Appreciate everybody jumping in. I'm going to bail off of here. I got just a few more things to do to get ready for the 11 or whatever time we're going on, probably 11:30, maybe midnight. You never know when football's live. So it just depends when they decide, when the game is over, and then when they decide that the post show is over. So we never really know. So we're always like on standby. And then if it's going along, sometimes we're here until 1 a.m. It's happened. Here's Austin saying, I'm glad we calmed down on the severe weather, a terrible March and April. Boy, you're not kidding there. I didn't think that season was ever going to end. That was wicked. It was rough. Here's Travis. I need to mow my yard sometime this week. The kids want me to put up Christmas decorations outside. Yeah. It's one thing to keep it into the confines of your house. Like the tree is up and nobody can see it. It's a whole nother thing to venture out and be like, you know what? I'm going to put the wreaths on the windows. Then the neighbors are like, what's with the neighbors? But then you want to pair it up when it's warm, right? And you're like, hey, this is a good weekend to do it. I'm going to get out there. Like maybe it's November the 15th. Typically you wouldn't do it until after Thanksgiving like Laura, but you say, hey, it's going to be warm. I'm just going to put them up. Okay. Shout out to the WKU Mesonet. They were on Weather Brains last week. Yes, they were. And and it is great to have the mesonet in the state of Kentucky. I wish Indiana had a mesonet. You get out in the plains, several of the states out there have them, but the mesonet is great. That's where the university and the climate center, which is run out of Western, has devices, not just thermometers, but they have webcams and many of those weather cameras for the zones where each of those cameras are placed, and measuring a variety of weather measurements. So it's soil temperature, it's humidity, wind. It's great to have. So we appreciate the mesonet, and that's why when we show some of our graphics, you'll see WKU mesonet written in that banner. It's our way of thanking them for the data that we're able to use. Yeah, and so Elizabeth is asking, when is the next frost coming? Well, it's possible to be here certainly by next week. I mean, we've got lows in the 20s. We'll see how that plays out. A week away. A lot of things can change, but I suspect this cold air bumps in, and we probably won't see a bit major change show up. The trend will likely hold. All right. So that's where we are in the grand scope of things. All right, I'm going to bail out. Thank you all for joining us here on a Sunday at 9:13, which feels like, yeah, 10:13. Dale pointed that out, and you're right. It does. It feels later than it is, but it's not. So you've got plenty of time to enjoy the football on NBC. We'll see you after the game. Hope you have a great evening, and we'll be here this week walking you through the next 10 days. Promises to be a fun 10-day forecast. Have a great evening, everybody, and we will see you back here after the game tonight and then again tomorrow.